Hey guys, MaxLPQueen here, and welcome back to the Bernie Goodwin Memorial Zoo. We are on the silver objective category right now. We still need to get, I think, what does it say? It's a 13 exhibits into the zoo, and we only have 7 right now so far. So we're going to need to add some more animals in, of course, but we also are going to need to make sure that the animals we currently have are doing okay as far as welfare is concerned. So we've got, I think, five habitats so far. We've got the grizzly bears, we've got the bisons, the aardvarks, the saltwater crocodiles, I think the springboks. I don't remember what we have over there. The stable antelope. I know we have a few of them that are in this area over here, and our big safari area in the middle we have a couple of different animals. We also have a couple of different ones, the pronghorn antelope, which is in with the bison, I believe, in their same habitat. So we're gonna add some more to our little safari area over here. Funds are looking a bit tight right now, but that should eventually get better over time. Believe me, I don't think we'll be struggling here once we get everything up and going and ready to go. But we're going to add some more animals into the safari exhibit here. I guess we'll call it the safari area because we're going to end up having a lot of species in this one habitat here, because they're going to be able to coexist together pretty well. We're going to add in another animal, the African buffalo here. And the African buffaloes like water in their habitat, so I'm probably going to have to add in some water. Of course, we are still low on cash, but we are getting those loans paid off, and once those are paid off, it should help us because we probably won't have to worry about dipping into our savings any, since we won't have to worry about paying off those loans any. And I'm not really sure what happened here, but things just kind of spazzed out on me. It kind of glitched a little bit. I don't know what happened there. But I went ahead and I got 2 of the buffaloes here because I think some of them actually need like herds in order to have some better they need herds in order to have like better overall welfare. I've started doing marketing as well to try to bring in a few more guests, because one thing we need is we need to have a lot more guests in our zoo, and we don't currently have too many. We have 582, so we're almost there to 600 guests in the zoo. But I'm still doing research on everything. The more research that we can do, the better it's going to be overall, because the higher grade food level that the animals are eating, the better their overall welfare will be, and of course their star rating. And once we start to get down towards probably the end of the scenario here, we're definitely gonna need to have some pretty good star rating animals without spoiling anything. I think we're gonna need quite a bit. So I want to make sure that their food and their overall welfare and health is all good and all taken care of. The bisons and the pronghorns, I believe, are over here, and their habitat looks a bit tiny. We might actually have to end up expanding this a little bit later on, especially whenever we have our offspring coming in. That'll mean we'll need even more space for these guys. And we also need to work on our enrichment for our grizzly bear as well, because as you can see, the enrichment here is 46%, which is not really the best. We want to make it at least 100% or 90 or above, so that we can get the most out of our star ratings for our animals. So I believe, since we've been doing research on the other animals in our zoo, we should have some more enrichment items for the grizzly bear that are the same as theirs. So it does help to do enrichment on different species, because you can help out with that by getting more for different ones. So like if we're doing research on the bison, we could get enrichment items that could actually help out the grizzly bear or the pronghorns or any of the other animals that we have in our zoo. So you're not just you're not just doing this all for each animal, you're doing it for multiple animals sometimes as far as enrichment goes, which is good. It's definitely what we want. So like I said earlier, the bison, I believe, no, not the bison, the buffalo here prefers to have a water in their habitat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a little area that we can give them some water so they can swim around in, because apparently they want to have some water. So we can do that in this scenario, of course. I'm glad we can actually do it in this scenario. Before, I wasn't able to do it in that darn zoo that I hated so much. You guys remember that one, the Nevada State Eco Zoo? Oof! I'll never forget that one. Not being able to place the water was definitely annoying, but as you can see, we're all good on welfare now for the buffaloes. Since we put in the water here, we're good to go. Space is okay, enrichment's alright. They're looking pretty good. But now I think we're just gonna add in a few more things, probably some enrichment items and stuff. If we do happen to have any that they can use, we'll definitely want to put those in there and help them out a bit. But we need to take it off the grizzly bear because we are looking for the African buffalo enrichment items. We're at 78%, so we could do with a little bit more as far as enrichment is concerned. 87, a little bit better. Might have to end up doing some research on those in the future. But I do like those enrichment trees. Those are really cool because they give them enrichment and they also add some plant foliage into the habitat, which I really like. We've got vet research going on for the pronghorn antelope. It's almost finished. Got some more vet research completed there. I want to add over to the left of the grizzly bears. As you can see, we had that little area there for the staff pathing. I want to end up adding a water treatment facility over there because we're going to need some way to keep the water clean, and the only way to do that is with the water treatments. As you can see though, we're still low on cash, so we can't really afford anything, and we are trying to pay off those loans as well. Grizzly bear looking okay, although its habitat needs some stuff to help it out here. Maybe a cooler. Most of them need heaters, but for the grizzly bear we need a cooler. The habitat is a little too hot. A little too hot for them, so we'll add in a heater there. And that will bring our overall welfare back up. So now the only thing we really need is enrichment. So we will definitely have to do some research on grizzly bear enrichment next. If we don't get anything to help out with the enrichment from the pronghorn, which we probably won't, considering it's a grizzly bear, we probably would need to do research on a animal that's carnivorous before we would get some enrichment for it, because I think the only thing we really need is food enrichment. I think we're good on everything else with like toy enrichment. We just need some food enrichment. So now I'm gonna just go ahead and wait around, see about research getting filled up, and also we're gonna need to fix up our habitat here for the animals in this area, because one big issue with them that we talked about, I believe we talked about, I don't know why that moved. One issue that we talked about before, I believe with the buffaloes was, or no, it was the pronghorns. It was one of the two. Was they have very low they have very high shyness. So their social issues will be affected if they don't have a place to hide, such as a shelter here. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and take this shelter and I want to move it, and then I want to move the fencing around here. I'm going to fix up the fence a bit so that we can change it and turn it into like a brick fencing or something that the guests can't see through, so that we can give the animals some privacy and a place where they can go to not have to worry about being seen by the guest, and it won't stress them out, because the stress has a lot to do with their welfare and their star rating as well. You want to make sure they're nice and happy at all times. and stress is a big part of that. So let's use this new fencing that we just got and we just researched and cover up their shelter here a little bit so that they have kind of a little space over here to just chill out, be away from the guests and the crowds, and hopefully that'll help with their welfare and their stress levels. As you can see, the African buffalo has some stress as well because it needs a shelter and a place to go hide. So that's why we're going to be doing that. We've got some mechanic research still going on for our barriers. So like I said in the previous episodes, we're going to be trying to look for getting the very last barrier set up, which will be the I forgot what it's called. I think it's the two-way glass barriers. We want those in the end because I don't know much about them, but I'm pretty sure that the two ways means that guests can see into the exhibit, but the animals can't see out of it. So it'll help with their overall stress, and it'll overall just be a better type of fencing that we can have that'll take less. I think it'll take less in terms of like fixing it and mechanic research and stuff like that. Mechanics won't have to come by the exhibits, the habitats, excuse me. Of course, I keep calling them the wrong thing like I always do. But they'll have to keep coming by the habitats less and less and less. So I'm going to cut here real quick though, because as you guys can see, we didn't actually have enough cash to really continue on because we had so many loans going on. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit off screen here. I did quite a little bit. But one thing that I want to do that we're probably going to skip around a bit on this little portion here is I'm going to put in a water area for my grizzly bears at some point, just to kind of give them some help there with their water stuff, because they do like deep water. And also we're still going to be working over here on the stress levels of our buffaloes as well as our other animals who get a little bit shy. And we're gonna have to add in some more species as well, because we have not reached our goal yet of the amount of species that we are going to need into our zoo before we can complete the silver rating. So I think I'm going to take some black wildebeest and put those into our little safari area here. Because like I said, they can all coexist in this one area, so it's definitely going to be helpful for us to have those different animals and get as much as we can with the little space that we have. So we have to use as much of this space in our zoo as we can because we don't have much room. We've got some research going though on some new things for the grizzly bear. So I should have some good welfare for the grizzly now that we're doing research on it. I have grade 2 food level, so we're almost at grade level 3. We are working on grizzly right now. We did finish the pronghorn antelope research, so now we are working on the grizzly bear research. And then we're probably going to have to expand out that exhibit over there. You know what, forget it. I'm just going to call it an exhibit from now on. I'm just done trying to differentiate between the two. Like, you know by now, I know what an exhibit is. It's the one with the bugs and frogs and lizards and stuff like that. And then the habitats are the ones with the big animals, and I can differentiate between them, but I'm just so tired of having to worry about this. So now that we have more animals in our little, I guess you could call it a safari area, we're going to need to add some more shelters, and we're going to need to expand the barriers up a bit to give them more privacy, because more animals means more privacy, means we're going to need a bigger habitat. But that's the future. Right now we're just going to go ahead and continue it the way it is. Once we get more animals and they start having more offspring and stuff, it'll be a lot more difficult to continue the way that we're continuing, so we will eventually have to bring this out a bit and make it a bit larger. But for now, I think we should be okay. So we still got stressed animals, which means I'm going to have to do a lot here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the shelter here, and I'm going to create like a little enclosure within the habitat. I don't know if you guys have seen this before, but this is something that I did learn when I was watching the walkthroughs and stuff. I learned that if you take the walls of your habitat barriers, your barrier walls, and you extend them into the habitat with the animals, it doesn't really affect them. They don't care. They would just rather have it as in their habitat to help with stress. So it can be a good like way to keep guests from looking in, where they can still go in and they can still use it. Also, the stress level does have a lot to do with their what was I gonna say? Not the nature, but like the amount of foliage that you have in your habitat as well. So we're probably gonna have to end up placing a bunch of different like trees and stuff in there to kind of hide them. But we do have a little bit more money here. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to place in this water treatment, which as you can see, it's going to cover up the water in the safari habitat. So it will be treated and it will be taken care of. But as you can see, it has a huge negative rating for the guests. But I did learn that if you want that to not be negative on guests and you want them to be happy and it not negatively impact them, what you can do is you can go into your guest facilities, just in general your facilities area, and you can get a shop, a shell. That's what I was thinking. I was like, a shop thing? No. You can get a shop shell, and you can place the shell around the water treatment, and what that will do is that will lower the radius down a bit. As you can see, it lowers the radius down a bit so that the guests are not affected by it. And then you can also take some trees as well and place the trees around it. As you can see, it gets bigger, and then we place in the shell and it gets smaller, and this will help with your guests having a negative reaction to it. And then of course placing the trees around it too will keep it hidden a bit more, and that way they won't be negatively affected by it. So I'm just going to take some trees, and we're going to place some trees around the outside of it to just kind of keep it hidden and back away from everyone. As you can see, when we place them, it goes down a little bit more, which is what I like to see. That way the guests are not affected by it. The radius goes down the more trees that we put in and hide this little water treatment there. And now we're looking pretty good. We're looking pretty good as far as the negative impact is concerned. So I think this will help us, because guests aren't going to be coming back this way anyway, considering that there's no habitat over this way anyway, so there's no reason for the guests to come back here. And I'm also going to want to put in a workshop as well on this side, but we'll have to do that a little bit later when we get some more cash flow in. I want to get a lot of cash flow in first, because I want to make sure that we have enough cash to afford everything that we're doing here in our zoo, and I don't want us to go back into debt again. So we got low welfare on some of our animals as far as stress is concerned, but there's nothing I can really do about the stress right now. I have to kind of just hold off and just wait a bit until they go into their enclosure area here, and then their stress will go back up as soon as they get back in. But I just need them to cooperate with me here. I think I decided to turn it a bit, because I guess having it facing one way made it where people could see into it still. I don't know how, but I guess they could. So I turned it a different way, kind of help out with that a little bit, move some stuff around, and made sure that they had a place where they could go to hide. I also placed in a lot of the education boards, the speakers as well, and I think I'm going to extend those out around the rest of the backside here of the habitat, because the guest education needs to go up by a lot more too. So we're going to have education boards, speakers, donation boxes, just all the good stuff that you need for that conservation rating down there in the bottom. We have 584 right now, so we're not doing too bad, but we could use a bit more. Still getting some research done on the grizzly bear. I want to probably finish up the grizzly bear's enrichment and just overall research before I go and worry about anything else. And now we have a good welfare on our springboks as well as our buffaloes. Everybody's looking good with their welfare. Apparently it was just because there wasn't enough trees and stuff in the habitats. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place some in there, and this will help out with, of course, hiding the animals so that they're hidden from the guest view and they're not stressed out as much, because we don't want them stressed out. Alright, so now that we've got everything under control, we got some trees in, we got some areas where they can go and hide, we've got food and water, everything's working out good. We got research going, we got our grade level foods for each animal turned up a bit so that we can get higher quality food. And now we need to do some other stuff here. So I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to add in some more areas over here, because we have way too many staff, but we don't have enough areas for them to go to kind of help out a bit with like staff rooms and stuff like that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to fix this a bit so that we can add in some more stuff over here, because this area was what we put in at the beginning of the game when we first started, but now I think it'll be better if we move everything around a bit and kind of add in another habitat, because we do need some more in our zoo before we can complete the silver portion. But I need a little bit more space, so we're going to move everything around a bit, move around the pathing, make it a little bit smaller. I made it pretty big because I wanted them to go through and be able to walk through and have enough space for everything. But I'm going to make it a little bit smaller now, because we're going to increase the size of this habitat. You guys know I was talking about it before. We need to increase the size eventually, because they're going to start having offsprings and they're going to need to have more space. So by lowering the path size, I can extend that one out a bit. And then by moving all of these buildings here back a little bit more, we should have some room to actually go ahead and create another habitat and put in another animal into our zoo, which is what I'm wanting to do, is put in another one. So I'm going to move the buildings here, move them back, put the pathing back on there, and then I'm going to add in another keeper area over there, a staff room and stuff, because they're having to run from one side to the other now. So I think we would do a little bit better by having a little bit more keeper areas, so that they don't have to keep running back and forth to this one single keeper area. Okay, so now that we've got everything moved, now what we need to do is we need to put in some more fencing, because we are going to add in another species into the zoo, because we're going to get closer to our goal here. We got to save as much space as we can. So like I said, moving things around will help give us a little bit more space. That way we can get some new habitats going in here with what little space we have. And I'm going to turn off angle snap, because once again I finally figured out how to get this dang fencing stuff to work. It might not look very pretty because it's not snapped and angle snapped and just overall just really good looking. It's a little wonky, but I don't really care at this point. At this point, it's just best to leave it the way it is, and I'm just gonna go with it. Whatever helps me to finish the scenario is all I care about at this point. Alright, so let's put in our fencing here and complete this enclosure. There we go. And then we're going to need to put in a gate, which is good. We can put it in over here so the staff will not be crowding up any of the areas where the guests will be looking at. So I think that'll be cool. So now we need to get some animals going into here. And I believe we can find some here. I think what we'll do is we'll put in some tapirs. They'll be fine to go over here in this little area. So let's get a male and a female and send them over to their new habitat. And then we will have another animal that we can put into our zoo. Uh-oh, looks like our staff room doesn't have any power. So I'm gonna need to make sure that I research those alternative power sources, because I can put in a solar panel, I believe is what it's called. I can put in a solar panel, and that will actually help me because the guests are not negatively affected by it. But for now though, I think we'll put in a transformer just over here, because no guests are going to come this way anyway. And eventually I'll change it whenever we get our barriers all done. I'll change it and we will work on mechanic research for our power facilities so that we can change it over from a regular transformer to a solar panel, and then the solar panel will not be, guests will not be affected by that at all. It'll be fine. Okay, so the tapirs are in their enclosure. Now we have to go ahead and do what we normally do, which would be fixing up the habitat here for them. They do need a little bit of water, so I'm gonna put in some water and then put in some foliage, of course. Just making everything look nice for them. Increasing the overall welfare, obviously. And then we're gonna have to put in some shelters because they're gonna need quite a few little shelter areas as well to hide in. Luckily for us though, they don't care about the shyness stuff. So guests are gonna get to view them from all angles and they are totally okay with it. But it looks like we're good there on the tapirs. And that's going to be another species that is added into our zoo towards our goal of course, getting the silver ranking. They need a little less short grass, so we can put in a little more soil here. There we go. Much better. Looks like they need a little bit more shelters. I'm probably going to have to fix that though, because their shelters are a bit small, I guess, for them. We'll have to add in a little bit more. Go over to this. Okay, let me get in some shelters here, and they should be good to go after that. So we're good on the tapirs now, and now we have another animal into our zoo, and we have some research that's been completed for the barriers for the mechanic research. So now I can work on the power. Now we should be able to get that power going up as soon as we can. And we're looking good with everything else, but I think we're going to need to fix our barrier now that we have the two-way glass, or the one-way glass. We can change our habitat here to the one-way glass. This way, I believe this is how it works. I don't know, but I think it's a privacy for the animals, and then the guests can still see into it, so that will help out a lot. Definitely help us out quite a bit. I'm so glad we got that research done with that. So I'm going to continue to do research on all my animals, and we have 10 out of 13 habitat species, and then we're going to need 1,450 guests in our zoo to complete the last portion here of the silver objectives. Still got some more stress on our animals. I'm going to add the education boards and stuff to the tapirs, the donation boxes, of course, and increasing that food grade level once again for everyone. And then making sure that all the animals' habitats are looking good and everything's looking nice. And we've done a little bit of research on the tapirs. Well, we've done research on other animals, so we can give them a little bit of enrichment here for the tapirs. So I'm going to put in some enrichment items for them, because as you can see, 50%, that's not very good. We need to get that a little bit higher up. So I'm going to place in some more food and toy enrichment for them into their habitat here to help them out with their welfare there. And now we are up to 100%, so we're looking good there. Looking good on the grizzly bear. 96% there on grizzly bear. But I want to see if I can get, we've got anything as far as enrichment goes for the grizzly bear. We can put in some more stuff. Since I did all that research, I think that'll be good to use. And I think I want to go ahead right now and put in the water area that I was talking about I was going to put in earlier. I decided against it because I wanted to wait until we had a little bit more cash flow. But now that we have some cash flow in, I can put in as much water as I want. So I'm going to give them this deep water area to swim in. And then that way we can put those feeders in there. And the feeders will give them enrichment as well. So we got a little water area for them. Looking nice and clean. And of course we have the water cleaner stuff. The treatment center. And there you got it. Deep water, 44%. It's totally fine. They're not really worried about that anyway. And now we have the grizzly bear good to go. So let's put in that feeder enrichment thing down at the bottom. If I could find it. There it is. Fish feeder enrichment item. In the bottom here. And there we go. That's another enrichment item that we can use on the bears to help them out a bit. I want them to kind of be at 100 because the bears could end up getting 5 stars pretty soon because they're one of the animals that's our highest rated in our zoo. But that's going to do it for me, guys. I think we're going to stop here. We'll finish off with the scenario in the next episode, because there's not very much more that I can do on screen. I kind of just have to do the waiting game on the guests, and then I have to add in a couple more habitats, and that'll be what we do next time. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and end it off here. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and I will see you in the next one.